Hey guys, Mike here. So obviously another brutal, volatile day in the market, swinging all over the place from down 2% to up in the positive, then right back down. And so, I mean, I think some people are getting used to it. Some people decide to tap out, and I don't blame them because that's what these markets do, right? They beat you down. You got to do what you do, got to do to keep your mental health up. And if these times are wearing you out mentally, you just got to take a step back. I mean, seriously, it's that simple sometimes, and just do nothing, right? And I saw this meme today, and to me, this really just describes a lot of investors and traders and stuff. And it's like, stock market in 2020, we're throwing on the chips, and then stock market in 2022, yeah, not going so well. And I did want to follow up with something I did yesterday when we talked about stimulus checks coming out of California. And now we see that there's actually 13 states that are doing some form of stimulus. A lot of them call it tax rebates and tax distributions, and some of them just straight up call it stimulus checks. But as you can see, as we scroll through this right here, you're going to see the list of states, California being on the top of the list, obviously. But you got Colorado, Delaware, Georgia, Hawaii, and Idaho, Indiana, Maine, Minnesota, New Jersey, and New Mexico, New York, Virginia. And so it doesn't really matter whether they're run by Republicans or Democrats. You got a lot of states that may have surpluses left over from the federal government. And as I told somebody in the comments yesterday, I'd much rather have that money. And if it's a surplus, I'd rather put that in the hands of the citizens, us, and let us do what we want to, since it actually is our money, and let us do something with it versus the government, the state government's just wasting it on another highway or some other project that plenty of people are going to have their hands in the cookie jar on. It's going to cost 10 times more than it should cost. So, and the truth is, I expect to see a lot more states, if they have surpluses or the ability to do it, rolling out some of the same stuff, because, people are being put in a real pinch right now. It's just the truth. Have you seen rents right now? Like setting record highs, mortgages, record highs, gasoline went below 5 and everybody's happy. It's like, can you imagine? They're like, it's finally below 5. Really? I mean, do you remember what it was last year? Wasn't even close to that, And so it's just put a lot of people in a bad situation. And so, I know it kind of defeats the purpose of what the Fed is trying to do. But again, to me, there is no right or wrong answer on this one, to be totally honest with you. And so, yeah, is it going to help bring inflation down? No, because it's going to keep demand up because people are going to have money in their pockets. But again, I still say the majority of that money is going to be going to pay for gasoline, utility bills, rents, and food. I don't think a lot of that stuff is going to be going to buy a new pair of Nikes or vacations. For some people it will, who don't need the money, but I think the majority of people will be using it for things they just absolutely have to have. It is what it is, and you can thank your government for that one. And so, the other thing I saw today was, this right here, NASDAQ having worst start to a year ever. And when we go through this, and I've kind of verified some of these, but when you look at, what you see going on from January to June, which is where we're at now, where this is the worst ever, negative 28.5%. July to December returns, you see, and then you got full year returns to the far right. And you can see it doesn't look pretty. 2002, the second half of the year was -2, overall 32%. 73, same thing. 74 was just terrible. The second half of the year was worse than the first half, down 35%. You had 1984 had a positive second half of the year, so only down 11. 2008, disaster, down 40% for the year. 2001, pretty much same thing, red for the second half of the year. 82 was a really good year, had 35% on the back half of the year to end positive, even though it was only down 12% first part of the year. But you can see on average and the median, I mean, it seems like that back half is negative. It just isn't as bad as the first half and the majority of them. But if you look at the two really bear markets we know of, which was 2002 and 2008, didn't end too well. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, guys, if you get something out of this. And so we'll have to see what happens. And I'm telling you now, it's all about these earnings coming up right here. Can be all about inflation, but really it's all about the earnings right now. And if people, if these earnings surprise a lot of people and beat earnings, and the company is saying nope, forward guidance is good, or raise forward guidance somehow in this mess, then you never know what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, people are saying, oh, no, you got to sell everything. No, keep buying, whatever. But I can say this, I found a great example for those of you who, you consistently dollar cost average in, or you stick, whatever it is your plan is, you're doing it, that, even when you think some people think we're far away from the bottom. Some people think we're at the bottom. Some people have no clue, which honestly is the best camp to be in. Just say you don't really know because nobody really knows. Is I found a great example of this of why there's no way to time the bottom. All right, 2018, December 24th, day before Christmas. Right, there was an interview I found. This interview I believe was actually a day after Christmas. So this interview was on December 26th. Okay, and I'm gonna let you listen to him. And understand that this ought to sound very familiar because I'm sure you've heard this interview already at least multiple times this year.
Let's cut to the chase with our money. I mean, if people have $1,000 in the market at the beginning of the year, right now they've got what, 850 left?
Yeah.
How do they protect what's remaining?
At the beginning of the month, actually, it was down 15% on the month. But I would say don't panic. Certainly don't panic. And something, if you look at your statements, and they're going to be lower, okay. But at this point, if you see this as the way I see it, as a strong economy and a confidence issue that I think we'll get through, then look at it as a buying opportunity for long-term investors. For instance, I have a 529 for one of my kids. I added money on Friday because I think at this point we're getting towards we're not going to say you wanted to put $5,000 in the market, put $1,000 in right now, and then work your way through and let's see where this thing goes. But right now, don't panic.
Now, understand the market has sold off October and November, but it was in December where you had the capitulation moment where just this cascade of red goes down. And what he didn't know that Monday when he put that $1,000 in that 529 plan was he was actually putting it in at the bottom, and nobody knew it because I can't find any news. The only news I can find out that turned the market was they had really good holiday sales. That was it. There was a big scare in 2018 and thought the economy was slowing, might be going into a recession, all this stuff. The Fed was still tightening. They had stuck their guns and said we're going to continue to tighten in 2019. They did not pivot until February of 2019, but the market turned on December 24th. That was the bottom. I mean, check this out. You can see that capitulation I was talking about right there with all the selling. There's December 24th. Christmas hits, markets are closed. Day after, you can see, here comes the run. Boom, takes off. What do you see down there? Oversold on the daily. You look over there on the weekly. What do you see? Oversold. And so, but people didn't know it was the bottom, right? There's no way to know that. But if you look at certain things, I'll say you just track certain things. Look at the S&P 500 stocks above 200-day moving average. It went below the magic line of 10%. That is key. No bear market has ever turned around until we go below that 10% mark, at least since 2000. And then you look at NASDAQ 100 stocks, boom, down below that 10% mark as well, which we're well below that right now. And then you look at the VIX. There's the huge spike up. And December 24, 2018, that's what you're going to see. That's what we hadn't had yet. You hadn't had this huge spike. And that was only like 38. By the way, during real bear markets like 2018, 2002, and I believe in 2020, these things VIX can go as high as like 80. Okay, so 38 is actually pretty low. But, right now, this is what people are talking about with the VIX. Now, how we're just sitting here, between we keep coasting between 20 and like 32 or something. But you hadn't had that huge, gigantic spike like that. Just yet, which usually happens during that capitulation moment, where you finally get that last moment where people are just tapping out. They're done, money's coming out like crazy, and stocks are just selling off, okay? And so, but it's so fun. I saw the interview, and I'm looking at the charts. Again, it just proves, and that guy's in the financial business. At that point in time, nobody knew the bottom was in, okay? Nobody knew it. And so, it hadn't crossed any moving averages to go above it, nothing like that. There was no real big news. The Fed had not pivoted or anything like that. All you had was some news come out about holiday sales I could find. Because I was everywhere trying to figure out what made that pivot happen, and go green on December 26th and not look back, right? And so, that's the kind of stuff you see. That's why they say the market's irrational. The same thing will happen here, where all of a sudden the stock market will be moving up, and there'll be stocks moving up. If you don't own them, you don't know they're moving up before the index is really bottom out. That's what's going to happen. And so, but you don't know when that's going to be. All right, and you look at it and say, does it make any sense for the market to go to all-time new highs right now? No reason. There's not one that I can think of right now. And, especially when you see states sending out stimulus, for God's sakes, they'll let you know what kind of shape consumers are really in. But, the market is forward thinking, and you don't know how forward they're actually going to be thinking. And so people think they're going to wait for the Fed to actually do the pivot, which in 2018, you didn't see that, right? In 2020, what happened? Market starts moving up. As soon as they start announcing we're going to be sending out more money than you ever could dream of, right? And so that's why it's tough to time the bottom. It's impossible. Nobody can do it. It's just the way it is. And so I just want to put that out there to you so at least you can see that. And, that guy, sure, if you interview him now, you say, I just got lucky on that $1,000. Obviously, that $1,000 worth a lot more now than it was back in 2018. So, that was, 5 years ago. But, I don't know, I just thought it was neat to see that and show you that, it's one of those things you pick your poison. If you like to use the charts, if you like to use indicators, or you like to just invest blindly and just invest on the first of every month. I heard somebody say in the comments they're doing every other month now. But just mark my words, when this thing bottoms out, everybody's going to be stunned to go, that was the bottom? Because we won't know, right? We won't know until it crosses over, use the 200 moving average, or some people like to use a 20-week moving average or whatever. But, they'll see that and go, wow, and that was a while back. It'll be, index will be up by 20% by the time you even know it's the bottom. That's just the way it always works. So anyway, hope you got something out of that. We'll see what happens, guys. Buckle up for tomorrow. It's Friday, so we'll see where the institutions want to take us tomorrow. So anyway, hope you have a good night, and I'll see you later.